Data is only useful when it's available on time, but most pipelines don't deliver that. By the time data reaches the warehouse, it's often already late. Hello, I'm Pallari from Greenleaf Consulting, and today I'm going to show you how to tackle this problem using Snowflake. We will see how to build a real-time data ingestion pipeline and process data as soon as it arrives in the storage location. By the end of this demo, you'll see how to eliminate manual data loads and move on to an event-driven architecture. For this video, we're going to use Google Cloud Storage and create a storage bucket to upload our data files. Once we have our storage location, we will connect it to Snowflake and process the data. Before we move on with the demo, let's walk through the architecture first. Let's see what happens behind the scenes. A file is first uploaded to our Google Cloud Storage bucket, and as soon as the file is uploaded, the upload itself triggers a notification event. Snowpipe listens for these kinds of events through a notification integration, which we're going to set up later in the video. And once it receives the signal, Snowflake would automatically execute commands behind the scenes to load the data into our target tables. So instead of relying on scheduled jobs or job orchestration, whatever you may want to call it, consider this as a fully event-driven process. And that's what makes it efficient and near real-time. So as soon as you upload your file to the storage location, as soon as the data is available, Snowflake would process it automatically within the next few seconds. Now that we know how the connection works, let us move on with the demo and see how we can establish this connection to process data in real time. So let's create a storage location that we can use to upload our data. We're going to use Google Cloud for the same, and here I already have a project set up. But if you don't already have a project set up, you might want to go ahead and do that first, and then we can go and create buckets. So for that, we can hit on create buckets. Here we give a name. I'm just going to do that, and we can hit on create. So we have our storage bucket created. Now let's go ahead and upload our data files. Okay, now let's head back to Snowflake. You can start by creating a new SQL notebook. I'm just going to name it as part 1. Now, before we actually load the data, we need to have our target tables set up. So let's go ahead and create those first. So for that, I need my sysadmin role here. I'm going to create a database first. And then I would also need a schema. Let's go ahead and run that. Okay, we have that created. Now let's create a storage integration, and to be able to create the storage integration I would need to use the role account admin. So you do need to have access to this role. So I'm going to create storage integration, and then I'm going to give it a name. So this would be an external stage. Our storage provider is GCS. Let's mention that. I'm gonna set enable as true. And this is where we're gonna give our location of the storage bucket that we just created. So it's gonna be GCS, and I'm gonna head back to Google Cloud. I'm gonna copy the name of our storage bucket and mention that right here. We can go ahead and run this. This should be enabled. Okay. Now, the next step would be for us to grant access for the integration that we just created to the role sysadmin, so that we can use that role to run it. So we can do grant usage integration, and we're going to mention the name. Sysadmin. Now, as a next step, we need some values from Snowflake that we can use in Google Cloud. So we're going to use this and get some values in here. Perfect. So we have this. Now, the next step is for us to go to Google Cloud, and we need to create a role. So I'm going to go to IAM. And then I'm going to go to roles. I'm going to create a custom role. We're going to give a title. Let's say Snowpipe, and we can also add a little bit of description. And the next thing is we need to add permissions. So I need storage bucket dot get. I need storage dot objects dot get. That's our third row. We're going to add it, and then we're going to hit on create. Now we're going to go back to our bucket. We need to add permissions. Click on add principals, and here you're going to go and copy the value that you generated in Snowflake. So I'm gonna hit copy and paste it here. And then we are going to select the custom role that we just created, and we're going to hit on save. Okay, now that this is done, we're gonna go back to Snowflake. And let's load the data into Snowflake and see how that looks like. So first things first, I'm going to mention the databases and the schemas that I'm going to need here. You can also do the same thing in the top corner right here. You have your role, your warehouse that you're going to use, database and schema. But for this demo purposes, I'm just going to mention that in the notebook itself. So I am going to use the database staging. And our schema was raw data. The role that I need here is sysadmin because we already granted the access to this role. And then I might as well add warehouse here because I do need the warehouse. It's going to be compute WH. So I already had the warehouse created, but if you don't have that, you might want to first create that and then come back to the demo. Okay, now we're gonna create a stage area. Then we are going to, our storage integration is GCP integration. This is where we're going to add URL to storage bucket. I need this to be enabled as true. Let's try run this. We have an error here because we need to get the right integration name in here. Okay, let's try running this now. Okay, that is complete. So I'm gonna go and show you how that would look like. So we're gonna go to Database Explorer. And this is what we just created. So if we look in here, we should be able to see the data files that we had loaded in the cloud storage location. But we had to write a lot of code to do this operation. Now let's see how we can use Snowpipe and perform the same operation. So once we use Snowpipe, we don't have to run the code again and again. Rather, we just upload the file in our storage location and the Snowpipe would get the notification and it would run all the necessary commands to load the data. Okay. We have it here. Now we're gonna go back to Google Cloud and we're gonna hit on the Cloud Shell here. We're gonna authorize it. Once you have your CLI open, you're going to go in and type this command. This is the project name, the project ID, and you can find this name by clicking on your project and just go and copy that. So I'm going to hit enter and then we're going to add a second command. And in here, you just need to update your storage bucket name. And hit enter. Okay, so once this is complete, you can go ahead and close your Cloud Shell. As our next step, we need to go ahead and create a pub/sub notification. So I'm gonna go and search pub/sub. And then you can see here that you already have this popped up that we had created. So the Snowpipe that we created, so you're gonna hit on that. And in here, you need to create a subscription. So hit on create subscription. can give it a name and hit on create. Once this is created, you would need to go and copy the subscription name. Now we're going to go back to Snowflake. And let us create a notification integration. So this is whenever we upload a file to the storage location, this integration is what is going to send Snowflake the notification that new data is available, and then Snowpipe would run the processes that are needed. So I already have my code ready. I'm just gonna copy paste that here. So we need to use the role account admin for this. We're gonna create a notification integration, and this is where you're gonna paste the subscription name that you just copied earlier. And once you have your notification integration created, you're gonna grant usage access to the role sysadmin so that we can use that role to perform further activities. And then we also need another principal value from Snowflake that we need to use back in the Google Cloud. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay, now we have this principal value. Now we need to go back to Google Cloud. So we're already in our subscription, the one that we had created, and we're going to go ahead and add principal. Let's go back to Snowflake and copy this value, and we're going to paste that in here. Then for the role, we're going to go to PubSub, and we're going to select PubSub subscriber, and then hit on save. Next, we're going to go to IAM. We're going to hit on grant access. In here, paste the same principal value that you had copied earlier. And in the role, we're going to write in we need monitor review. Okay, that came up. So select that and hit on save. So once that's done, now we can go ahead and create our Snowpipe. So I'm going to go back to Snowflake, and let's do this in a new notebook so that we can start fresh. So first things first, we need to mention all the things that we're going to use. So we need role sysadmin, our database, schema, and the warehouse that we have. Okay. The next step is we're going to look at the file schema first. And this is how we can do it. So what this does is that we are not mentioning the table schema, or we're not looking at the table schema manually and creating our tables and then loading files. Rather, we're just gonna let Snowflake handle all that part. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a table in logistics, and this is gonna be my template. So it's gonna be a CSV file, and then we need to parse the header, skip any blank lines, trim spaces. The fields can be enclosed by quotes, and then the last part here is I'm just gonna keep that at false because I don't wanna skip any column or error out any files or rows for now. And then we're going to use that, and we're going to use infer schema so that Snowflake is automatically going to look at the files, look at the column names, guess their data types, and automatically create this table and load the data into this table. And this is finally the file location where our data resides in Snowflake that we just created in previous step. So I'm going to go ahead and run this part. Okay, that is done. And now as the next step, I'm going to go ahead and create our Snowpipe. So I'm creating a pipe named logistics. This kind of has the same name as our table itself, so don't get confused here. And I'm going to set auto-ingest as true. This is our magic command right here. So when we set this as true, what we are basically telling Snowflake or Snowpipe is that auto-ingest the files as soon as you see them in the storage location. And we're gonna mention our integration that we had created. So whenever we upload new files to the location, the integration would automatically send notification or signals to Snowpipe, and then the Snowpipe would execute this copy into command and load all the data that's available in the storage location into the table logistic that we just created above. We can go ahead and run this. So our pipe is created. So let me highlight the flow again. First, we're going to upload files to our storage locations. Then the files would get loaded in Snowflake into this area, which is our stage location. And then the data from here is going to be loaded into the table logistics. So consider this area just as a mirror image of the storage location. So whatever you're gonna find in the storage location, you're gonna see the exact same thing in here. Now we can look at the table and let's look at the counts and let's see if the data was loaded. That's not our table name. This table is staging. Let's see, did I miss the name? So let's do this thing. And we do have some data loaded, and we have 30 records. Okay, now I'm gonna show you what happens when I load a new file into my storage location. So we're gonna go back here. So I'm gonna go in here and I'm going to upload a new file. Okay, so now let's go back. Let's just refresh the pipe. So I'm not gonna run the pipe again. I'm just gonna refresh it and I'm gonna see if the new records are loaded in here. So the new file that I uploaded had 30 additional records. So if I were to run this query right now, I should see 60 records in total. Okay. Okay, there we have it. The new records were loaded into the table. So this is how easy it is to load data using Snowpipe. So now doesn't matter if I upload one file, 10 files, 20 files, or another folder of any number of files, I would not have to go again and run the pipeline. I would just refresh it and just check the table and to see if the data was loaded or not. That's how easy it is to bring real-time data ingestion to life with Snowflake. Hopefully, you now feel confident putting Snowpipe to work in your own pipelines.